The point of no return acid is a patient thing. Do you know what it does when it touches flesh? It doesn't just burn, it melts, it dissolves, and it digs until there is absolutely nothing left. And the worst part, no plastic surgeon on earth can fix what it leaves behind. It changes you permanently. Savash's voice remains deadly calm, almost academic, as he casually tilts a thick, smoking glass beaker, pouring a single drop of clear liquid onto a leather surface that instantly hisses and bubbles into a black, hollow hole. He looks directly up at his trembling, tied-up captive, who is choking back tears, his voice vibrating with raw terror as he begs Savash to stop, pleading with him not to do this. Savash just stares coldly, tilting the bottle a fraction of an inch closer, and orders him to smile. Suddenly, a heavy wooden door slams open with a violent crash at the grand family estate, where Sultan is furiously throwing heavy leather suitcases down the front marble steps. Isya stands completely frozen in the driveway, watching her clothes scatter across the gravel in the dirt, as Sultan screams from the top of the stairs, asking if she honestly thought she could manipulate them forever, telling her that the dirt is exactly where she belongs. Layla steps out behind Sultan, looking panicked, and asks if they shouldn't at least wait for Pars or ask him first, but Sultan turns sharply with absolute triumph, declaring there is nothing left to ask. She reveals that Pars knows exactly what Asya did, that he stood right there and didn't say a single word to defend her, giving them his silent blessing to finally rid their garden of the snake. Sultan then bursts into the servants' quarters where Gul is furiously scrubbing a countertop to drown out the noise. She grabs Gul by the arm, forcing her into a chair, and commands her to look up because it's finally done. Asya has been kicked out and sent back to her father's house like a dog. A slow, dark wave of relief washes over Gul's pale face as she breathlessly asks if it's true and if Pars really let her go, and Sultan laughs harshly, declaring that the era of Asya is officially dead. The mansion belongs to them again, and Pars is finally all hers. Meanwhile, inside a secluded cabin in the woods where the wind howls through the trees, Nalan paces furiously across the floorboards, confronting Savash, who stands like a stone wall near the heavy door. Hysterical and gripping her stomach, Nalan demands to know if he is completely out of his mind, screaming that Levent saw him drag her out of the hospital, and asking what she is supposed to tell her husband. She screams that she is carrying a child, a baby, and swears to God that if anything happens to her child because of this stress, she will kill him. Savash steps forward, his voice a flatline, and calmly tells her to stop breathing so heavy because there is no baby inside her. Nalan stammers and steps back, asking what he is talking about and if he thinks he knows her body better than her. She defends herself, saying they tried for years without success, but the lab results finally came back and Levent told her himself. Savash steps closer, invading her space, and asks if she has actually been to a real doctor yet. And when Nalan replies that they were literally on their way to the clinic today before he ambushed her, Savash drops the brutal truth. They were never going to that appointment because her pregnancy is a ghost, a complete scam. Tears stream down Nalan's face as she points an accusing finger, calling him a liar and claiming this is just a sick new game to make her miscarry, proving that, while the blood feud might be over for the rest of the family, it is still burning alive inside him. Savash's voice drops low, filled with a heavy, ancient sorrow, as he tells her that when blood stays in the veins too long, it turns to rot, explaining that his entire youth was spent scrubbing bloodstains off the pavement because of their family's war, where they didn't count casualties but simply buried them. He tells her their feud isn't over because the pain hasn't stopped, but clarifies that he didn't bring her here to hurt her. He brought her here to expose the people who are feeding her poison, challenging her that, since she didn't believe his words, she will now have to watch the truth with her own eyes. Abruptly, the scene shifts to the bright, open air of a high-end rooftop boxing gym where the city skyline glows in the background, and Duru leans against the ropes with a smirk, watching Yaman adjust his hand wraps. She calls it an admission of guilt and tells Yaman to call it what it really is. He is an absolute coward, challenging him to give her any defense at all. Smiling faintly as he steps into the ring, Yaman tells her that in his world, everything comes down to angles. Duru scoffs and crosses her arms, questioning if angles are really his defense. But Yaman explains that if a massive cargo ship tries to dock at a pier but hits the harbor at the wrong angle, it crashes and destroys the dock, just like if he throws a hook from the wrong angle in a championship fight. His guard drops and he gets knocked out cold. He argues that while from her specific angle it might look like cowardice, from his angle it was the only honorable move on the board. Unbelievable, Duru says, walking around the perimeter of the ring with her eyes locked onto his, accusing him of building a whole philosophical cage just to hide his fear. She decides to try an experiment, stepping over to the other side of the ring to look at him from that asterisk angle, but taunts him that he still looks like a coward, even pulling up a seat to look from a lower angle only to declare that nothing has changed, and he is just a textbook coward. Yaman's voice lowers as he steps closer to the ropes, telling her he is a lot of things but a coward is not one of them, but Duru leans in close, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, telling him he has just enough heart to keep a promise to his friends, but he doesn't have the guts to tell a girl he loves her. Staring at her lips, his breath catching, Yaman insists he has the heart for it, but Duru challenges him one last time, asking if that's true because from this angle he still looks completely frozen. Breaking the tension in a single second, Yaman suddenly reaches out, grabs her waist, pulls her flush against his chest and looks deep into her eyes, asking her how it looks from this asterisk angle.